Good morning and welcome back to Early Riser Workshop. I've been really anxious to try this process for reclaiming clay. I got a tip from YouTube that by using a bucket, a pillowcase, bucket of water, dried clay pieces, and use slip water, combining that together to break the clay back down, and then suspending the pillowcase to let gravity drain most of the moisture back out before taking a sloshy mixture of clay and putting it onto a plaster bat. Now this is my portable plaster workstation. Be sure to check out my video on how I made this. But I intend to put the clay on top of this to further dry it out to the point where I can begin kneading it. All right, well, let's get started. So the first step is going to be putting my pillowcase, my cotton pillowcase, into the bucket and pull this down to where the bottom of the pillowcase just touches the bottom of the bucket. Okay, and then I'm going to take my dried clay pieces and just dump those out. Now I'm going to take the water and pour it just until the water is covering all of the pieces. I don't need a whole lot of extra water. That's it. I'm going to let that sit for a little bit and I'll be right back. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes and what I noticed was the clay kind of sucked up that water right away and had a lot of bubbles rising up to the top. So right now, not much more is happening. So I'm going to go ahead and take my slip water. And the reason I'm adding slip water to the clay as it's broken down, as I understand it, is the clay has large pieces, and I need to add the little itty bitty pieces to add to the consistency. So the suspended clay in the slip water added to the clay that is sucking up the water will mix together to get a good combination of both fine molecules and large molecules, little pieces, big pieces. All right, that's all in there. And then I'm going to use just a piece of PVC as a stick to kind of stir this up and give it, some time to really mix in together. So I think I'm going to let this sit for about another half hour or so, and I'll give it another stir and I'll be right back. Well, now we're ready for some fun stuff. We're going to tie a knot in the pillowcase and suspend it under the ladder. So the consistency of the clay slurry, or slop as I've learned, is like pancake batter, and it's got a little bit of lump still in it, but I think that'll break down as the clay is continuing to dry. We'll place the bucket under the ladder. And we'll suspend it. Might be a little trial and error to get the right spot for the bucket to catch the water, but we'll let it sit here for a couple of days and see how it goes. Welcome back to Early Riser Workshop. Today I'm set up to take the clay out of the pillowcase and put it on our newly constructed bat. So if you remember, it has a cleat on the bottom. That's going to hook up here against my bench so I can push on it. So I don't need this right now. Next step is to pull the bag and I'll get a closer up look. Okay, I expect this to be a little bit messy, and we'll just discover together, what this all turns out to be like. My idea is to turn the pillowcase inside out and then plop the clay on the bat. It's like there's some dried clay, up on the edges here. And I don't really need to worry about that too much. Well, that couldn't be any easier. So now we have our lump of clay and it's ready to be kneaded. And you know, this is the first time I've used this so far. Oh, it's really wet. It's like the consistency of, I don't know, like oatmeal. So what I'm going to do then is just spread this out on the bat and let the plaster do its work and suck the moisture out of the clay. You know, from the amount of clay that I did, this is just about perfect size of bat to do what we're doing to reclaim this clay. It's a good amount of clay, good amount of bat, good amount of mess. Okay, it's been about 2 hours since I flopped this on here. Let's take a peek and see how the bat's doing. Oh, this is pretty cool. So the clay is peeling off the bat, firm enough to lift, mostly. I like that. What I'm going to try to do is just flip it over in one piece and get the other side to dry out. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So by keeping it flat, I hope to draw as much moisture as I can, and then I'll begin kneading it. All right. I think we'll leave that for another couple of hours as a gauge. Okay, we've given it about another 2 hours, and boy, it's really firmed up nicely now. So I can give this a nice wedging now, I think. It's a pretty big lump of clay. I really wanted to see how pushing on this bat is going to turn out. But you can see I can give this a pretty good crunch. And the clay, the consistency is really good. I think the timing was just what I needed. Well, I think this is all turned out the way I wanted. I got to enjoy some woodworking, poured plaster, made the bat, salvaged some clay, did a proper reclamation, and I'm really pleased and ready to prepare this clay, bag this clay for the next throwing session. This is Earl Griffiths for Early Riser Workshop. Thanks for watching.